Sonny and Cher in London, 1965. Statue of Liberty Arm, 1876. Philadelphia Centennial Exposition. In 1985, The Legend of Billie Jean, starring Helen Slater and Christian Slater as teens who become accidental outlaws, debuts in theaters. Miniature electric car for Port Authority Police, 1955. The Young and Beautiful Marilyn Monroe. Freddie Mercury and the Crowd at Wembley Stadium, 1986. Romantic Girl with Mandolin, 1910. Elvis Presley eating breakfast with his father Vernon and his grandmother Minnie Mae in 1959. Raquel Welch and a Volvo P1800 in 1964. The twins from the 1980 film The Shining, Lisa and Louise Burns, Then and Now. A trio portrait of Dolly Parton, Emmylou Harris and Linda Ronstadt, 1987. The Boardwalk at the Jersey Shore in 1905. A mailman stops and sits in a mailbox to eat his lunch in Hays, Kansas, 1951. Who remembers Boris and Natasha from the Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends cartoon, 1959 to 1964. Janis Joplin at the Hotel Chelsea in New York, 1970. The San Andreas Fault shortly after the 1906 quake that ripped San Francisco apart. The futuristic-looking 1938 Damaxion is more boat than car. Did Ernest Shackleton place a wanted ad for a South Pole expedition in 1907? Betty Page and photographer Bunny Yeager at a photo shoot in 1954. A Victorian radiator with a built-in warming oven to keep plates or food warm. Model Cheryl Tiegs, 1971. White Castle Hamburger Restaurant in the 1980s. Painter Bob Ross feeding a baby raccoon. Anne Margaret and Elvis in a scene from the film Viva Las Vegas, 1964. Jessie's Girl by Rick Springfield hit #1 on the music charts in 1981. Hoop a Man Fishing with a Spear, 1923. Sailors from 1910 or members of a sassy new indie rock band. This 2,000-year-old green serpentine stone mask was discovered at the base of the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan, Mexico. In 1981, the music video cable channel MTV, whose original purpose was to play music videos, launched. The first music video to be shown on the channel was Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles, who used to drink Jolt Cola back in 1985. A native Alaskan poses with her child, who is resting in her hood, in 1906. American Graffiti opened in 1973. The 1966 Bedford Dormobile camper van was manufactured in England by Martin Walter and is a fully equipped motorhome. The remains of a Thracian carriage and 2 horses that were buried upright. Author William S. Burroughs with his jack-o'-lantern that he carved with a hatchet, 1996. Robert Plant and His Dog, 1970. Groovy men's fashion from the 1970s. "18-year-old Bela Lugosi" in 1901, long before he came to the United States. The debut of McDonald's McRib sandwich in 1981. Cindy Crawford photographed by Arthur Elgort for Vogue Paris in 1987. Steel Magnolias premiere in 1989. Cowboys mosey up to the bar at a saloon in Tascosa, Texas, 1907. Mr. Edgers and Officer Clemens, the first black supporting character on children's television. Smitten with This Kitten's Smile, A Girl and Her Kitten's Smile for the Camera, 1955. Elvis Presley and his girlfriend Dottie Harmony at the Sahara Hotel, where she was one of the showgirls. Colorized photograph of Emperor Nicholas I of Russia and Empress Alexandra Fyodorovna in 1903 attending the ball at the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg. Yoda's creator based the character's design off of his own face. In 1986, the famous singer Julio Iglesias enjoyed a delicious meal on his private jet. He washed down a bucket of KFC with a bottle of Chateau Lafite Rothschild, a prestigious wine. Stephen King's first BA press notice. John Belushi, Mick Jagger, Steve Martin, and Dan Aykroyd, 1980. Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in the film The Godfather Part 2, 1974. This 1,000-year-old Buddha contained the remains of a mummified monk. Actress Jamie Lee Curtis in 1976. Special delivery: two gals deliver ice in Lower Manhattan, New York City, 1918. Angelica Huston and Jack Nicholson in 1975. Gene Wilder and Cleavon Little cracking up on the set of the film Blazing Saddles, 1974. Before the customer is always right existed, rudeness was not tolerated. A pair of spooky skeletons riding horses for Halloween in the 1920s. The 79th floor of the Empire State Building, after a B-25 bomber crashed into it. A young and groovy Victoria principal. Ride in style in this antique hearse from Dresden, Germany. Retired teacher Antonio Lacava, driving his I Biblia Motocaro. The imposing Bran Castle watches over Romania, 1920. Photos taken of a couple on the same motorbike, 51 years apart. Keep your buns warm with this early toaster. The funny and beautiful Sandra Bullock is always a delight. Drew Barrymore in the 90s. Cell phones were predicted in 1953, but would Apple land smart watches?